When 17-year-old Lena Caldwell was told she'd be spending her summer vacation with her grandparents, she was furious. It was supposed to be her last summer of freedom before college, late-night hangouts, beach days, and music festivals. Instead, her parents were flying off to Germany for work and had decided she couldn't stay alone in their suburban home. "They live in a peaceful town," her mother insisted. "It'll be a nice break from the internet. You'll survive." The town turned out to be a nearly forgotten village named Red Hollow, deep in the Appalachian woods. The kind of place where cell reception gasps for breath and the nearest grocery store is 30 miles away. As the car drove down a narrowing dirt road, Lena saw her grandparents' house for the first time, an aging Victorian manor, surrounded by trees that leaned too close, as if trying to whisper something to the house. On the wide wooden porch stood her Grandma Esther and Grandpa Doyle. Grandma's silver hair was pinned tightly, her dress spotless and outdated. She smiled too wide, teeth too perfect. Grandpa stood silently beside her, thin and pale, staring with glassy eyes that didn't blink. Lena felt a chill crawl up her spine. This didn't feel like a normal family visit. Something was off. As soon as she stepped inside, the air changed. The house smelled of old wood, damp cloth, and something metallic beneath it all. The walls were decorated with faded photographs, black and white images of ancestors long gone. The smiles in the photos didn't look happy, they looked forced. After a quick tour, Grandma showed Lena to her room on the second floor. The bed was neatly made, the windows locked, and a thick wool blanket lay folded at the foot. On the nightstand was a small ceramic angel facing the door. Lena couldn't help but notice it had no eyes. "Rules are on the fridge," Grandma said, her tone cheerful yet hollow. Lena raised a brow. "Rules? Just little things to help keep our home peaceful." When she went to the kitchen later, the note on the fridge made her stomach tighten. "Do not leave your room after 11 p.m. If you hear knocking on the window, do not open it. If Grandpa talks to you, don't respond. Always say grace before meals, even if you don't believe. Never go into the basement." Lena laughed nervously. Maybe it was just elderly paranoia. Still, something about the last rule made her uncomfortable. That night, as she lay in bed, she heard scratching in the walls. At first, she assumed it was rats or raccoons. But when she got up to investigate, the scratching followed her movements, as if it knew exactly where she was. She sat back on the bed and put in her earbuds, drowning it out with music. The next morning, she found Grandpa sitting silently at the dining table, staring out the window. She cautiously poured herself some orange juice and started to leave the room when she heard him whisper, "Don't blink when it smiles." She froze. "What?" she asked, turning. But Grandpa didn't look at her. He simply spooned his oatmeal and chewed slowly, as if he'd said nothing. Grandma walked in moments later, humming a tune with no melody. "Sleep well, dear." Lena nodded slowly, but her mind replayed Grandpa's words over and over. That night, Lena stayed up late scrolling through her dead zone phone. She ignored the time until her phone battery finally died. As the house fell into silence, she heard something new. Breathing. Wet, raspy, heavy breathing, just outside her bedroom door. She tiptoed to the door and crouched, pressing her eye against the keyhole. For a moment, she saw nothing. Then, a face. Pale skin. Hollow eyes. A grin that stretched impossibly wide, from cheekbone to cheekbone, filled with jagged, yellowed teeth. The lips twitched as it whispered in a soft, familiar voice. "You didn't say grace tonight." Lena screamed and fell back. She waited with her back to the door until morning light filled the room. At breakfast, Grandma served eggs and sausage with a smile too bright. "Did you sleep all right, dear?" Lena nodded silently, but her hands trembled as she held her fork. Later that day, Lena explored the attic, desperate to find an old landline, a signal, something. What she found instead was a dusty box labeled Clara. Her mother's sister. The one nobody ever talked about. Inside was a worn leather diary. The last entries were filled with frantic scribbles. They say grace to feed it. Not for God. It smiled at me last night. I didn't blink. I saw its real face. Grandpa isn't Grandpa. Not anymore. Grandma's body moves like it's hers. But it's not. If I disappear, burn the house. Bury the remains. The last entry was dated July 17, 1989. Lena dropped the book, hands shaking. She had to leave. At dinner that night, the table was set with roasted meat, mashed potatoes, and gravy. But the meat was raw in places, sinewy and dark. It looked wrong. Grandpa didn't eat. He just stared at Lena. Say grace, Grandma chirped. I don't really. Say grace. Her voice was low, eyes wide and unblinking. Lena muttered a rushed prayer, heart pounding. Only then did Grandma smile again and begin devouring the meat like a starving wolf. That night, Lena packed her bag. She was leaving, rules or not. As she tiptoed down the hallway, something moved behind her. She spun around. Nothing. When she reached the front door, Grandma was there. Going somewhere, sweetie? She asked, voice too sweet to be real. Then Grandpa stepped from the shadows, holding a meat hook, rusted and dripping. Lena ran. She didn't think, didn't plan, just bolted through the kitchen, toward the one place she wasn't supposed to go. The basement. She stumbled down the stairs into darkness. The air was thick, putrid. Her feet crunched on something. Bones. Animal. Human. She couldn't tell. Symbols were carved into the walls. Blood, or something worse, smeared in patterns she couldn't understand. And words, scrawled over and over. It watches. It smiles. It feeds. Don't blink. Don't scream. Don't let it wear your skin. In the corner stood a tall figure, too tall, too thin, wearing her Aunt Clara's nightgown. It turned its head slowly toward her. Its mouth unhinged. You look just like her, it hissed. Lena screamed and spotted an old storm cellar door. She pushed with all her strength, tumbling into the cold night air. She ran through the woods, branches cutting her arms and legs. Behind her, she heard laughter, first Grandma's, then Grandpa's, then something else. Something gurgling and wrong. She didn't stop until she reached a gas station miles away. She burst through the door, bloodied and sobbing. They called the police. But when the authorities searched the house, there was nothing. No bones. No diary. No Grandpa. No Grandma. The basement was sealed with bricks. Just an empty, dusty house and a strange smell of rot. Lena's story was written off as trauma-induced delusion. Her parents brought her home. She tried to forget. But 2 years later, on her 19th birthday, she received a postcard in the mail. No return address. No message, just 5 words written in red ink. Come home. Grandma's still smiling.